Hello, thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about my Atari 7800 collection. People who have watched my channel probably know that the Atari 7800 was my first video game system. And it's one of those things, like when I was a kid, I used to flip through like the Sears catalogs, and they had video game systems and screenshots from all the games that you could get. And I used to love just like looking at those and imagining what those games were like to play. You know, after a little while, I got to the time where my folks were like, you know, we'll get you a video game system. What do you want? And at this point, the Atari 7800 was out, as well as the NES. And I know that I was aware of the NES. I mean, the 7800 they didn't bring out until the NES had already sort of reinvigorated the market. So I know I'd seen like shots from games and stuff like that. I don't know why I didn't go for an NES, but I have a feeling that it probably had something to do with this game. This is Asteroids. It's a really cool version of Asteroids, and I probably saw this and really wanted to play this on the 7800 because Asteroids was really my first video game that I played, and I really liked it. So I also just liked the Atari games. Like, I had fond memories of playing those, so I think I wanted the backward compatibility of the 7800. So for me, I think you know, a lot of it was playing like, you know, Berserk and Vanguard and Yar's Revenge, and, you know, just a lot of those really great classic Atari 2600 games. And then it was a handful of 7800 games, which I'm going to go over here. One of the ones I used to like playing a lot back in the day is Xenophobe. And I have to say, this is one that hasn't really held up all that well. But I don't know, when you're a kid, I guess just like these aliens. I mean, I was too young to have seen the Aliens movies at all. But something about this, just, you know, the imagery, I think, kind of captured the imagination of a lot of people at the time and was used in a lot of things. And you know, me included, I think seeing this, I was just like, ooh, like it seems like these scary, creepy alien creatures on a ship, and you have to run around and fight them. And I used to play this a lot, and it was cool. You could play with 2 players too, which was kind of neat. So I'd play with my friends sometimes. Another good multiplayer game, which I owned back in the day, is Joust. And this was really, you know, I think this next handful of games, and the ones that I've shown so far, are sort of my 7800 experience, which is a lot of arcade ports. Joust is really neat. This is a Williams game, and it's just fun. This is really fun 2-player also. So when my friends would come over, we'd always play Joust. You know, you run around on the little ostriches and fight each other, and it was a lot of fun with this game. Another great arcade port on the system, Galaga, a Namco game. This, you know, it's just a classic. You can't really go wrong with Galaga. I used to spend a lot of time playing this game. Next up is Dig Dug. And, you know, again, another Namco arcade. Dig Dug's a lot of fun. I pick it up even now once in a while and play this game. Definitely a cool port on the 7800. Another one, Xevious. That's how I would say that. It's you know, again, another arcade port, vertical shooter. Very neat game. Probably one of the signature games of the Atari 7800 is Food Fight. And I used to play this a lot too. This was one of my favorite Atari 7800 games. In fact, Ed T1138 just did a Top 3 Tuesday where the guest was asking, you know, what are your top Atari games that you go to? What are your go-to games? This is probably number 1 for my go-to game. That even now I will just pop this in and play, like, you know, play a couple rounds of Food Fight when I fire up my 7800. I've been collecting for the Atari 7800, and I've collected for it previous to now, but I've started collecting for it again just to kind of finish off my collection. It's something I always intended to do, and I think I really wanted to do it because I wanted to see, you know, aside from those games that I showed you, what you know, what sort of might my childhood game playing have been like had I had some of these other games on the 7800, because it didn't have a really big lineup of games, but there were about 70 games for it. And I really just want to know, like, what happened on the system. You know, what didn't I get to see that was really interesting. So I've been collecting games. Now, one of the games that I got, this was actually one of the ones that I got a number of years ago, is Double Dragon. This is pretty cool because it's 2-player. The one on the NES is actually, I believe, just 1 player. I don't think you could ever play 2-player on the NES version of Double Dragon, so that is something unique that the Atari 7800 has. The graphics on this are not very good, and it's definitely playable. I started playing it, and it's hard, though. It's really hard. I have fond memories of playing Double Dragon on the NES, and I think for me, maybe just for the nostalgia factor, the NES version wins out. But, like, when I was a kid, if I had had this, I would have played the heck out of this. I would have thought this was exceptionally cool. I mean, assuming that it wasn't, like, too hard, because I just played it for, like, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, and it was tough. But I think I would have really enjoyed this, despite the fact that the graphics are a little ugly. This is one that I got just recently, Desert Falcon. And this looks really cool. If I had had this when I was a kid, I think I would have really enjoyed it. It's an isometric perspective shooter where you fly around as like a bird, like a falcon. Through this, like, I mean, you start off in this Egyptian landscape. I don't know if it stays that way, but you can see on the cover there, that's sort of the theme. This looks really fun. I think I would have enjoyed this quite a bit. These games are a little hard to sort of go back to and play now, I think, for an extended period of time. You know, to pop in for 5 minutes and enjoy, I think, is easier. But, yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll go back and give Desert Falcon a go. Another one I got recently, Super Skateboarding. This, you know, so at this point in my 7800 collection, I'm starting to get into the rarer games. So I have a handful left to go, but this is one of the ones that I hadn't gotten yet. I just got it, pretty recently in the past couple months. It doesn't seem like a super great game. It's like you hop on a skateboard and go through like these like rooms in a house. It almost looks, it's sort of like these levels, the floors of a building. It's kind of weird. This game is another one that looks quite cool. I got this pretty recently. This is Fatal Run, and I mean, the Atari, I think one of the things that it was lacking on a bit is sound. So playing something like this, I don't know that the music and the sound effects are super great, but this is a pretty neat looking game. It's kind of like take Outrun and cross it with Spy Hunter. And you get this. Now, I used to play a lot of Pole Position 2, which I think, I mean, it's a classic, and it's a well-regarded, like, early racing game. But I just don't think it holds up very well. But, from games like that, you got things like Outrun and the Rad Racer was the NES version. So Fatal Run, in addition to obviously the Pole Position 2 port on the 7800, I think was sort of the third person sort of behind the car racing game. This actually seems pretty fun. When you combine that with the Spy Hunter mechanic of like shooting other cars and leaving oil slicks and that kind of thing, it's pretty neat. I didn't play a whole lot of this, but I bet you I would have gotten a real kick out of this when I was a kid. Next up is another fairly recent acquisition. This is Rampage. Now, you might notice that this is not in exceptional shape, and in its defense, I've seen a couple more of these on eBay that are in similar shape. I think this one's actually pretty bad, but it's like the glue has started to kind of bleed through the paper that they use. The seller, I ended up talking them down on price on this because of the condition of this, and I overspent just a little more than I wanted on this. I talked them down $15. So, I think I got a decent deal on this, but just considering the condition, I would have liked it $5, maybe even $10 less, but I don't feel too ill used. And this game actually seems really, really cool. Again, it's a game that was available on the NES, and I played it on that. But if I'd had this on the 7800, I would have loved it. I think this seems like a really great port, and the music is not good. But the graphics are neat. The characters they're almost sort of like super deformed, or they're kind of cartoony, like animated versions of the characters, and they're pretty neat looking. And you can play as all three of the characters too. You can play as, gosh, what were they called? George and Lizzie and Ralph is the one you can play as that you couldn't play as on the Nintendo version. So I think this probably goes down as the single game that I've found so far that I would have wanted to play the most when I was a kid. I think this would have been excellent to have on the 7800. Next up, our last couple ones here. I just got this the other day. This is obviously Kung Fu Master, and this is similar to the version that came out on the NES was Kung Fu. Now, I popped this in for just a sec, and I have to say, not as good a game. When I was a kid, if I got to play this, I would have definitely gotten some enjoyment out of it. But, it doesn't hold up quite as well. I think now I was hoping for a slightly more fun version. I remember Kung Fu on the NES being quite fun. I don't know, I feel like I got a good deal because I've never seen this on eBay before. And of course there's like a 2600 and a 7800 version, and somebody had the 7800 version up in like decent shape. I'm only collecting cartridge only, and the price was what I thought was reasonable for this, so I just grabbed it. And finally, this, it seems like it could be rather fun, actually. I just haven't managed to actually destroy the tanks yet in the game, which is kind of the point of it, since it's called Tank Command and you're driving a tank and you're fighting other tanks. This, I don't really know how it breaks down these days in terms of what you can actually find on eBay, but this has always been sort of listed and regarded as like one of the rarest games on the system. It's a pricey game, but I just, this seemed like a reasonable price, like genuinely reasonable for this, and I just went ahead and got it, and I'm really happy to have it. This is one of those things that I just like having in my collection. This is sort of like a crown jewel of my 7800 collection so far. So I'm really happy to have this one. Yeah, so I like my 7800 collection a lot, and I'm working to build it up. I will have a complete collection, and I will probably do a video about that when I get it. Yeah, so I've been I've been picking up a lot of Atari 7800 games recently, and I wanted to share those with you because I don't always go over these games as I'm getting them and sort of trying to include people in the excitement that I have being able to go back and get some of these games that I never had when I was younger. So I just wanted to share that with you guys today, and thank you so much for watching. I'll put up another video soon, so hope to catch you again next time.